Welcome back to Torn. I'm Dr. Mark Wygan. I'm a board certified sports physical therapist, and the goal of this channel is to educate on the ACL injury. In this video, we're going to break down the 5 most common signs that we see clinically that could potentially indicate an ACL tear. Now, when an ACL injury occurs, and above I've broken down the specific mechanism in which you see ACL tears, but when an ACL tear occurs, there are certain indicators that we look for. The first and one of the most common signs that you'll see is that the athlete hears or feels the sensation of a pop. So what's actually happening here and what's causing that quick popping sensation is the failure of the ligament itself. So the ACL is a ligament, the anterior cruciate ligament. The ligament itself is pushed past capacity, and it's a sudden and very rapid rupture of that ligament itself. Now, I want to make the caveat that every single athlete that I've seen does not necessarily feel or hear a pop. But when you do have that indicator, or when an athlete tells a surgeon or a physical therapist that they felt a pop in their knee, it is a fairly telltale sign of an indicator that we have to look at this further. The second sign that we're going to look at is immediate pain. So after the injury itself, the ACL has not only nerve supply, but also blood supply. So when an injury to this ligament occurs, first and foremost, the nerve is going to be irritated. Anytime a nerve is irritated, that sends signals up to the brain that tells you that you're in pain. Not only that, but we also have blood supply to the ACL. So immediately after the injury itself, immediate bleeding occurs within the joint. When the arterial supply to the ACL, or the arteries that carry blood flow to the ACL, disrupt, bleeding occurs within the joint. This is called hemarthrosis. Along with the pain associated with the ACL rupture, there are other indicators that could potentially cause the pain. So along with ACL injuries, oftentimes we see meniscus damage, we see cartilage damage, and potentially bone or fractures that occur from the ACL tearing itself. The third sign we see, immediate swelling. So as we discussed, the ACL has arterial blood supply. So there's arteries that go into the ACL to supply it with blood. Once the ACL is disrupted, so is the artery itself. So because of that, you have bleeding going into the joint, and as we discussed, that's termed hemarthrosis. Along with the hemarthrosis, the body's natural response is to send more inflammation to the knee to help begin the process of healing. Because of the nature of the injury and how abrupt and sudden it is, inflammation is actually seen very, very quickly. 30 minutes after the injury, even up to 2 hours, you will see immediate swelling within the joint. Clinically, this is also a major indicator. So aside from true fractures or bony issues, everything inside the joint, there's a clinical indication for. So what I mean by that is this. So the ACL injury, because it's very abrupt and sudden, and you have the hemarthrosis, you have the swelling and inflammation that occurs very rapidly, this is an indication more for an ACL injury than other structures within the knee itself. And what I mean by that is when you have even just a potential meniscus injury, meniscus swelling actually occurs a little bit later generally. So from even 24 to 48 hours later. So if you're speaking from just structures within the joint itself, a very rapid swelling is a lot of times indicated for an ACL injury over other structures within the joint. The fourth indicator, instability. Not every athlete who goes down with an ACL tear will report instability, but what do we mean by that? So the ACL's job, or the anterior cruciate ligament, attaches from the femur to the tibia. So when we look at this knee model, we look at this right knee, the femur here and the tibia here, the ACL is within the joint and it attaches from here to here. So it helps stabilize the joint. So when we look at ACL injuries, the ACL is no longer available to stabilize the joint, so you have a lot more shifting of the knee. So when an athlete goes down and reports that they feel unstable when they try and walk, that's what that's coming from. So after the injury, when an athlete goes to see the physician or to urgent care for the first time, a lot of times they will be given not only a brace, but also crutches. And this helps with the instability or feeling like the knee is going to give way. Again, not every athlete reports instability, but it is a very common sign. And the goal of the ACL reconstruction is to restore that stability so you don't have as much shifting going on in the joint and you have full function of the knee. So the fifth sign that we see is an inability to bear weight. So the inability to bear weight is a culmination of a lot of the factors that we just discussed. So the swelling, the pain, potentially the instability that the patient or athlete feels, those are all a culmination of what's causing the athlete to say, no, I can't get up, I can't get off the field. Now again, an inability to bear weight isn't a single indicator that would cause me concern for an ACL injury, but it is cause for concern that there's something going on within the knee. So to recap, the 5 most common signs that we see for an ACL tear are a popping sensation, immediate pain, immediate swelling, instability, and potentially an inability to bear weight. If you have any of these signs or symptoms, it's very important to see a medical professional immediately so we can look at the knee further and potentially go down the route of imaging and understanding where the injury is coming from. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, share with others who might benefit from this information, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.